Hey guys, welcome back to Matthew's Ballistics. Today I thought I would do an in-depth discussion, talk about the details of building this little rifle and all the brands and manufacturers of the parts that I went with and kind of the reasons behind that. Alright, so first I'm gonna take this mag out. Everything's still a little bit stiff on this rifle. First thing you're going to notice is this handguard is a little bit scuffed up. The reason for that is it was given to me as a freebie from a friend of mine, and as well as the trigger group and the upper receiver parts were also free. Everything else I paid for, I bought, with the exception of the barrel nut. Actually, the barrel nut was free as well. So, building this rifle, I started with a Wilson Combat barrel, and the reasoning behind that is I wanted the shortest barrel I could get with it still being rifle length. I didn't want a pistol length barrel because I wanted to be able to use a full rifle stock on it. So, I went with the Wilson Combat Precision 16-inch 6.5 Creedmoor barrel, which is the shortest barrel you can get for a rifle. Anything below 16 inches becomes pistol length, and in which case you cannot run a full length stock. So I wanted the shortest rifle basically that I could get. And when I decided to do the AR build, I didn't want to go with the typical 5.56 that most everybody goes with. I wanted to go with something a little bit bigger, potentially a little better range. And so I decided to do an AR-10. And going to AR-10, most of the time you think 308, okay? But I also shoot 6.5 Creedmoor in my bolt rifle, or my bolt action rifle. So I decided, man, why not build an AR-10 in 6.5 Creedmoor? That way I can share the exact same ammunition that I shoot in my bolt action rifle, I can shoot out of this rifle, and vice versa. So it's, it cuts down on the amount of different calibers that I am, loading ammunition for, have to buy ammunition for, and keep track of. So after I got the barrel, went with the 6.5 barrel, and I also bought the matching gas tube and block for it. And then my next purchase was the upper and the lower. I went with both matching set of Arrow M5, the upper and lower, and I also got the little lower parts kit that was also Arrow, and then an M5 buffer tube, just I believe it's a carbine buffer. And then after that, I needed a good optic on here. I didn't want to put a full length scope. I still wanted to keep it kind of like the minimalistic approach to building this rifle. So I decided I'd looked through a Burris RT3 scope, and I really liked it. I really liked the reticle. It's super fine reticle, so you could, clearly make out and make some really precise shots on longer targets with it. But the RT3 is only a 3-power prism scope, and I wanted something with a little bit more power out of it. And so I got on Burris's website and just kind of was looking around, and they make an RT5, which is what I have here, is the Burris RT5, and it's a 5-power prism scope. A little more expensive, a little bit more on the expensive side. I think I'm in this one for about $480, give or take. Not too bad for what it is. It's really a good piece of, optic on here. I haven't zeroed it yet, but it seems to be pretty on for the most part when I went and actually tested this rifle out. Other than that, I went with a Magpul MOE stock to match the MOE grip, and of course I went and I've got the Arrow ambidextrous charging handle. So So that's about it. Oh, dang, I almost forgot. You probably can tell, but I also decided to go with, once I got everything else, I bought the bolt carrier last, and I was on the fence about what I wanted to use, and I finally decided to go with the Wilson Combat 308 bolt, and it matches the barrel. You know, it's perfect. It's what they use in their own Wilson Combat AR-10s with the 16-inch barrel setup. It's the exact barrel and bolt and gas block and tube and everything that they use in those rifles. I didn't go with the Wilson Combat upper and lower receiver and whatnot because of the extra cost of it was pretty high. Had I gone that route, I would be about, I'd say, $2,400 ish into this rifle instead of about $2,000. Of course, potentially, you know, you could say it potentially could be a better rifle. I don't know. I decided, you know, I put the money where it really mattered, in the barrel and the bolt group, and eventually I'm probably going to upgrade the trigger. This is just a plain Jane nickel boron trigger group that you can find in most off-the-shelf ARs, at least the medium end ARs, not the low end ones, but you know, a mid-range quality AR, that's what you would find in it. Before I go shoot, I had to sort out, and I'm getting ready to, I'm going to clean this brass. This is once fired 6.5 Creedmoor brass. Mostly Hornady. I think almost all Hornady. There may be 10 or 15 cases of some Aguila in there, which I will have to chunk in the bag that is bad. I tumble my brass outside because I don't want to tumble it in the house with my baby in there and my wife, because of the, you know, there are toxic chemicals that comes off of this brass when it's being cleaned. Just something to think about if, you know, if you got a family at home and you're processing your own ammunition and reloading it. This thing throws a lot of dust in the air you can't see, and a lot of it's got heavy metals, lead and whatnot, and byproducts of burnt gunpowder and primer material. So just think about that if you're priming or cleaning brass inside your house. I don't recommend doing it. I do it outside always. So we're about to load up. We're going to head over to my private testing area, and I've got 6 different kinds of ammunition to test, which will be fun. Alright guys, this is kind of the setup I've got going on here. I've got a 4x6 with a bag rest on top of it and a bag full of lead shot behind it that the the grip is going to be rested on. And then downrange we have our target. And this is a typical target that you would see, you know, you would use out to 100 yards or so. It's a full-size target. And we are currently at, I want to say about 30 yards, not quite 100. And then I've got my gun set up there. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the ammunition. So the ammunition I've got today, starting at the top, we're testing 6 different weights of bullets and velocities. We've got the 95 grain VMAX, 120 grain ELD match, 123 grain. These are hand loads here in these boxes. Not by me, by actually the guy that taught me how to load these and these. So 120 grain, 123 grain SST, 129 grain SST, 140 grain FMJ of the Aguila. Now in the past, this Aguila ammunition, terrible on accuracy, extremely inconsistent with velocity. We'll see how it runs through the AR. And then the 140 grain ELD match as well of the Hornady. So several different types of ammunition to test in the AR. And again, this is what it looks like. And if you want to take a look through my scope here, if it'll focus, so you guys can kind of get an idea. It's way harder than I thought it would be. Maybe it's because I'm too close to it. Alright. So anyways, that's what the target looks through the 5-power scope. You can actually kind of see the reticle there if you look closely. It's not focused real well. And then there's how the target looks normally. Anyways, I'm going to get into this. I'm going to set this back up on the tripod. And let's get to shooting. Alright. So we're going to check the velocities on these. Hopefully it picks up fine. I'm going to go ahead and test a couple of rounds out of this box to make sure that we are actually picking up on the chronograph. And then we're going to test the velocities through these. And while I'm doing this, to make sure it's picking up on the chronograph, I'm also going to check the zero, which I'm pretty sure it's not zeroed. This scope, I have not messed with it. I just stuck it on there. I've shot it. It's on target, I know that much, but I don't know how zeroed it is from the factory. Alright, so I'm going to toss 5 rounds. This is the 120 grain. I'm just going to make sure that the chronograph is on and that I'm actually hitting the target and the chronograph is actually recording the velocities. We'll just toss 5 rounds in the mag. Safety off. We didn't get a velocity on it, but it hit literally dead center of the target. So that's fantastic. I'm going to go ahead and throw the safety on. Actually, I'm going to eject the mag. Go ahead and pull that round out. And I got to figure out why my chronograph's not in line here. Alright, so I brought the chronograph kind of back up here under the cover. And it's about 1.5 yards. I would say about 4 or 5 feet from the end of the muzzle. So hopefully, I know that's going to affect the velocity readings. Hopefully this catches the velocity like I want it to. So let's check it out. 3 rounds left in the mag. Rounded the chamber, safety off. All right. The velocity is picking up. Okay, so with that being said, we got it on. We got this thing reading. Go ahead and eject that round because we want to start out with the 95s. 95 grain Varmint Express. Let's check the velocity on this. The box says 3,300 feet per second. I don't think that's a correct reading. It says 780. Let's go again. 3011. Not bad for a short rifle. That one says 764. I think it's because we're in the shade and it's not quite picking the bullet up like it should, and it's picking up the smoke coming off the end of the barrel. .712 again, it's not picking the bullet up, I guarantee you. .730. So our one conclusive shot we got was 3,011 feet per second. So we're gonna go ahead and move on to the 120 grain, which actually what we had in this box here, these rounds. I'm gonna go ahead and put 5 more in that. Got 5 rounds in there. Hopefully it picks this up better. We don't know. It's a little bit heavier bullet, going a little slower. Hit the bolt release. .2477. Again, these are 120 grain, so they're quite a bit heavier than the 95s. $26.99. $25.87. $26.70. $26.59. I'm getting smoked out in here. Alright, so those picked up way better than the 95s. I think it's because the 95s are going so much faster and we're in a covered area. So it was hard for the chronograph to distinguish, and pick up the lighter, faster moving bullets. Moving on, we're going to 123 grain SSTs. These are actually hand loads, like I said before, by the man that taught me how to load. So we're going to put 5 rounds of those in here. By the way, before I started shooting today, this rifle has only had 30 rounds through it. So at this point, we're only at about 40-45 rounds through this rifle. Keep that in mind when you're thinking about the reliability of an AR and a brand new one. 123 grain SSTs. $27.65. Error. Got an error on that one. Got an error on that one as well. $644. Sorry, $654. Doesn't really matter. That was a poor reading. And an error on that one as well. So 123 grain hand loads were actually a little bit faster than the Hornady off-the-shelf 120 grain. So now we're going to go to the 129 grain hand loads. Again, I didn't load these. They were loaded by the guy that taught me how to load. We're getting an error a little bit. I think we're a little off center on the chronograph here. Well, it's just not reading. $21.83. So that seems a little low. Got an error. $5.89. I don't know. A little inconclusive on those. From there, we're going to go to the 140s. We got two different kinds of 140 grain. We got the Aguila 140 grain FMJs, and we got some Horty match 140 grain ELD match bullets. We're going to start with the Aguila. And so far, this rifle is cycling everything. And right now, we're up to, what, 55, 60 rounds through it. Brand new rifle. Cycling perfectly fine. These bullets are a little long, but we're going to try them out. Alright, 2148. Okay. $2,004. And we've got a failure to feed. Okay, we'll save that round for later. $2,088. And an error. So who would have thought we would have got a failure to feed with the Gila ammunition? Yeah. Moving on, we're going to the Hornady match 140 grain bullets. So the Aguila was at about 2,100 feet per second with the 140s. And you gotta think about it, we're shooting a 16-inch barrel, so you're gonna have that. You're gonna have some slower velocities. So Still well above supersonic, no doubt, but the velocities are going to suffer with a shorter barrel. So moving on to the Hornady Match 140 grain ELD. Got an error. I think we're moving a little off our center of our chronograph again. Alright, 23-22 out of the Hornady. $24.06. $23.87. $21.13. Alright, so out of our 6 different kinds of ammunition, there you go, 16-inch AR-10, 6.5 Creedmoor, Wilson Combat Precision Barrel, Wilson Combat AR-10 bolt carrier. Everything else was kind of put together. This thing is definitely Frankenstein, but as you can tell, for a gun that literally has under 80 rounds put through it, it's functioning very well. Now I'm going to go retrieve the target and we'll take a look at it, because I literally did not have to do any adjustment to the scope. All I did was mount it and shoot it. I've not touched it, and from what I can tell, it's pretty impressive. Big reveal. That's our target at about 30 yards. Again, the first round I let off just dead centered this thing. It was awesome. And I was shooting those 95 grain bullets. So naturally, the heavier I got, the lower they started going on the page as far as point of aim and point of impact. So when I got down to like the 140s, they were all down here in the bottom. The 123 and 129s were all in the middle. The 120s actually were still hitting about point of aim, point of impact. I'm not sure if I had a couple flyers at some point there off to the side, but at 30 yards for a gun that I did not do anything to the optic other than mount it on the rifle and then shoot it, and it's dead on with the 95s and the 120s. If I shot only 95 grain or 120 grain bullets out of it, perfect, just sweet. 123s I would imagine are a little bit low here. 129s and then down into the 140 grain bullets are about here, I would imagine. And then I had a couple flyers. So all in all, that optic, I'm really loving it. Of course, I'm only shooting 30 yards. Hopefully in a couple weeks, I was planning on going to the range and really testing this thing out at 100, 200, and 300 yards. And unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to do that this week, so it's probably going to be at least another week or so before I get to it. But as you can tell, holding a very tight group. You know, of course, I've shot, 6 boxes of ammo, and I've shot a total of, what would that be, 6 times 5 plus an extra 5. I've shot about 35 rounds of ammunition at this target. So 35 rounds went through there. Not a whole lot of craziness going on other than these two right here that were off the, line of center, line of point of aim and whatnot. All right. That was pretty sweet. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Please like, share, subscribe. If you want to donate, you can donate to my PayPal account. And I will leave that in the description for you guys. Anyways, I appreciate you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. If you got some comments or thoughts or anything that you think that you would do extra to this rifle, let me know. Or just tell me how you feel about it. What do you think? I mean, this is my first AR build, and I am totally excited about it. It's been the most fantastic experience for me as far as shooting a firearm. I've never built a gun before. I've always just shot them and then maybe added a couple modifications here and there, but I built this one totally from scratch with a little bit of help from some friends that, you know, helped me assemble it. I bought all the parts and did all the research myself. The assembling, I kind of needed a little assistance with, not gonna lie. Anyways, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time in the next video.